Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hello, Scott.
Hey, here we are, back again.
Yes, we are. It's a Political Matrix News, and what's the date today? December 10th.
Oh my God.
It is. It's nearly
by.
Christmas time. It is flying by, and what flew by was a big tanker got seized by the FBI and Customs and Coast Guard and
it was the
else.
U.S. Navy.
U.S. Navy. I mean,
and it was a SEAL team. Oh, yeah. See, that's what you get for reading things in the Washington Post and the liberal rags.
Exactly.
They bury all the really good details, like it was SEAL Team 2 that went and got them.
SEAL Team 2. Aren't they the guys who got Bin Laden?
No, that was SEAL Team 6.
I got to catch up on my SEAL teams.
Well, it's funny about those SEAL team numbers. Early in the SEAL program, they made up SEAL Team 6 they just started numbering them there to give the enemy the impression that we had a whole bunch of them. Well, we really didn't.
Okay. Well, go ahead and tell everybody what happened, because everybody just thinks that America is just stealing oil and keeping oil, but that's not a reality at all.
No, I mean, it's the craziest thing. And I mean, politically, I understand why they do it, because, otherwise they don't get the enemy, fundraising and the attention that they need. The media doesn't get their attention, the viewers that they need. So I'm not surprised that they don't like this narrative. But the fact of the matter is that tanker had, we didn't have to go and send troops in to investigate it and take samples and follow it, stuff like that. We've been following that particular tanker for years via satellite.
It's been a sanctioned tanker. I mean, we actually had sanctions against it because it was smuggling oil to Iran, which we have been telling people do not trade with Iran. And Venezuela's been doing that.
And again, you see that your liberals are omitting important details.
Exactly.
That tanker has been. I mean, oil to Iran does nothing. Iran's got all the oil they'll ever need.
Right.
What they're doing is they're taking oil from both Venezuela and Iran and selling it on the black market.
Right.
And so the real question is what took us so long to pull the trigger on seizing this tanker? We haven't done it in 10 years. We haven't done it since before the first Trump administration, during the Obama administration. Why? Right. It's never been a question that this particular tanker was breaking the law.
Well, thank God for Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth. I mean, the two cabinet people who actually had the intestinal fortitude to stand up against all the norms and all the good old boyism and all the, basically the establishment, the deep state. They stood up against that to support the idea of America First and the America First agenda here. I mean, we're supposed to be protecting us and protecting our citizenry and protecting our borders. And yet, at the same time, we've had attorney generals in the past who did not want to push it. We had DOD secretaries who did not want to push it. Nobody wanted to ruffle the feathers and nobody wanted to rock the boat, pardon the pun. But the reality here is that we have a team and a cabinet that's working with Trump to make everything good. And that's a big difference.
You see, I have a bit more jaded speculation on this, and trust. And this is a speculation. But my opinion is that the reason they didn't want to go after it all those years ago is because the people that own it, are beneficiary of this, the vast NGO payoff network. And if we'd have stolen that one, or if we'd have captured that boat, number one, that money would have stopped flowing, and number two, the guys that were receiving that money would start talking.
I'm sure there's a huge kickback scenario going on here.
Oh my God,
billions of dollars most likely.
I imagine their kickbacks get kickbacks.
Probably do, but I mean, it's good that we're making a movement here. I mean, I think we talked before. I mean, there's probably no coincidence here that all the voting machines that were fake and the problematic throughout the nation that fixed the election in 2020 came from the same nation, and we're probably on the same boats where all this oil and drugs and everything else is coming from. I mean, we have got to root out corruption that's actually affecting. It's not just affecting Venezuela or South America. It's affecting the United States and the rest of the world. And so this is not just a Venezuela issue.
No, it's not just a Venezuela issue, but as you pointed out, and frankly, in our last episode, as we were talking to Dr. Frank, he brought up some stuff. What I really liked about that episode, and go back and watch it if you haven't already seen it, because Dr. Frank's a really smart guy. And he was voicing a lot of the things that Greg and I had witnessed over decades, and it was nice to see someone with a completely fresh, that isn't steeped in the campaigns like we are. We're there so close to the problem. He's in the back rooms seeing the exact same things that we're seeing,
Right.
and so it's no coincidence that the people who own Dominion used to be from the people. Well, the group that used to own Dominion are from Venezuela,
Right.
and getting them out of the picture is a big deal. The fact that Dr. Frank was able to find, the people who wrote the source code, who wrote the actual original code for the software that flips these elections.
I mean, they even had their own election issue with Maduro, probably, most likely being elected here with a minority of the vote. And so, I mean, they've had their own, voting scandals and corruption scandals in their own nation as well.
I got lots of friends from Venezuela. They tell me no one in Venezuela believes Maduro won that race.
No, and nobody believes that Biden won either. And I mean, it's the correlation and the parallels are just so close and so weird.
Well, in this case, correlation does equal causation.
It does. And the fact that we're actually going after them and going after the narcos and the drugs and the drug trafficking and all the fentanyl, and now we're going after the oil, which is most likely funding all this. And I mean, come on, guys, you gotta let the government do their job and protect America first. I mean, that's actually the original idea. The Constitution was to protect America first.
Well, I'll
That's
tell
the
you,
whole concept.
I heard a story on the way over. They're talking about, how close the EU is to breaking up because they
yeah.
are in Brussels. They're making so many decisions that are counter to the interests of literally almost every single country in the EU. And so you kind of look at Trump kind of taking a step back from Europe and really focusing a lot more on the Americas. And I think that the smart move is, and frankly, I think Trump sees this. The smartest move that America could make is to consolidate all the Americas into a much tighter group. I'm not saying
Right.
go in and take over, but I'm saying make all of them so much more economically viable that we don't have to worry about what's going on in China or what's going on in Europe because we got our own things to take care of
Right.
and a contiguous landmass to do it in.
I think Marco Rubio is doing a great job at trying to make that a go-ahead project with the Trump administration. I mean, him being Cuban as well, so he's actually from the region and understands the Latin American community in a very different level than other Secretary of States that we've had in the past. So I think he's probably, I think that's part of the path they're going. Is to embrace what you just said, making the Americas a lot more stronger unit. So that way we won't have to depend so much on the European Union or the Asian American or the other different parts of the global economy.
Well, the bottom line is there was a reason we left Europe, and it is on display every day. When you've got,
Right.
The EU fining Elon Musk $140 million because he won't bow to their speech codes. Frankly, on their speech codes, when you have, when they're literally arresting thousands of people, for just
Right.
saying the wrong thing. Or even when they don't arrest them, they'll send the cops by in the morning. You post something that's objectionable. If they don't have quite enough to set up some charges, in Germany at the very least, they'll just confiscate your phone for a few days, like you're putting you on restriction. Oh no, you're not doing good things with this, so we're gonna have to hold on to this for a few days until you
Freedom.
calm down and start saying things that are more approved.
That's actually the total opposite of freedom here.
It
And
is
that's,
the opposite of freedom.
That's the entire reason why we do have an immigration issue here in America. And that's one reason why everybody wants to come here is because we are the exact opposite of that. And hopefully in my lifetime, your lifetime, and our grandkids' lifetime, we will remain that way. And I mean, Lord willing, as long as the Constitution is still there, we need to make sure free speech is still alive. And in fact, that's actually a new thing that's coming up with the Supreme Court or seeing talking about a new case here, talking about free speech and campaign finance with the National Republican Senatorial Committee versus the FEC, Federal Elections Commission, and basically they're trying to make it to where the surrogates, the campaign committees, can give a lot more money and direct a lot more to the campaign directly. Because right now there's a lot of limitations on federal and state races, how much they can do or even talk to or communicate with a candidate. Where whenever you start limiting free speech, you're limiting free speech. And they've already dictated that with Citizens United back in 2010 that donating money is a activation of free speech.
Well, I would be okay with them getting rid of Citizens United if they if they equally neutered the Democrat fundraising sources.
Yeah. Well, Citizens United is not going to go anywhere. I mean,
No, it's
because
not. No, it's not.
and that's not
I
even
don't.
part of this lawsuit. This lawsuit is actually talking about actually
No.
helping get rid of the barriers that are still left and making it even more free flowing with the
Yeah,
money.
it'll blast right on through Citizens United.
Yeah, I mean, there almost would be no reason for Citizens United
Yeah.
unless, I mean, except for the fact that 501c4 still have the anonymity issue and everything else if it's under a certain amount. So a lot of people who want to fear retribution for their political donation will most likely do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole concept here, and Democrats should understand this, that, they've already used the unions and they're using their 527s and everything else to the max. And so, and the reality here is that you and I both buy a lot of media, and a lot of other consultants out there buy a lot of media. And when you do an independent expenditure on behalf of a campaign, it's usually 30% higher than a regular campaign expenditure, and nobody gets the money but the media. I mean, the only losers on this are the TV and the radio stations, because it doesn't affect anything in print. It doesn't affect anything in the mail. It just affects anything on the airwaves.
Yep.
And so, and unfortunately, those are getting very expensive, and the majority of the congressional people running and state races that are running use their airwaves at a very maximal level. So, it puts money back in the pockets of the campaigns to get more voter contact. So I think there's a big plus there with that.
Hey, we could always ban all political campaigns from being in the broadcast media.
Or, yes, we could do that. And then we could also ban all media outlets from charging for ads.
Yeah. That's it. That's free speech. No,
Exactly.
You can't charge for political ads.
Exactly. That's the definition of free political speech.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work too good.
I don't think it's going to. Well, there's a case that you could make for it on broadcast media.
That's very true.
To say that they've got a certain amount that they've got to allocate to races, and if they allocate them to races, then everyone in that race has to get the same amount of time on their network.
Well, they already have NPR.
Yeah, right.
And Democrats get to use that free medium outlet there to the max, and they're politicizing and politicking and everything else all over NPR, and they're definitely violating all kinds of in-kind contribution rules with that.
Oh my God. It is ridiculous. If they were doing the same thing, if they were doing that for Republicans instead of Democrats would have cut their funding years ago.
And for people who don't understand anything about how the airways work, FCC controls, which is our taxpayer dollars, control the airways for broadcast, which is your big four channels: ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and a few other random stations in your local community. And basically, whenever you have your rabbit ears, your antenna, or your UHF, whatever you have, that's the channels that you're watching, and that's paid for by you, the taxpayers. You're the one who pays for that. And so, that being said, anything like cable or apps or anything on the internet is not paid for by you. And so, I mean, I do think that anything with public airwaves should have a price reduction instead of a price increase. I think, my God, you can buy a digital ad for 3 or 4 cents a impression, but for broadcast, you're looking at on average around like $10,000 to $15,000 for primetime 30-second spot. It's ridiculous.
It's I mean, and they only get higher closer to the election.
And exactly, and it's based on volume. So you have a lot of people who are buying up the the inventory on commercials, and the price goes up. And then when you talk about independent expenditures, which all these PACs are using, as committees are using, they have to pay basically right around 20 to 30% higher than that. And so what this law does is it allows the campaign to go ahead and keep the money and to use the money for the committees for the campaign directly, so they can just buy the ads and the propaganda of their race only through their campaign. A, it saves them money, yes. B, it allows more communication, which is actually one thing I do think that people do not realize. That whenever you don't understand who's really running, I mean, people always say they hear the commercials all the time, but do they really internalize them? Can they actually tell you the commercial and tell you what the commercial said? No, they won't. And they just know enough to be annoyed. But that's life.
Right. And we have this conversation with our clients all the time. The bottom line is that people do not remember what's in your ads. They don't.
No.
It's that they maybe retain 10% of what it was, just enough to vaguely kind of describe it to someone else.
That's because they're so expensive.
Well, it's not even that. It's because that's how human memory doesn't work any better than that. But what people remember is how that ad made them feel. That's
Right.
it. They don't remember the people, the words, or they vaguely remember you, but they closely attach those feelings to the name of that person and to the person,
Right.
the image of that person.
And when the campaigns have more money, yes, they're going to bombard you with more ads, but it's going to be more saturation, more memory, and it's going to make a stronger impression, pro or con. Granted, they're also saying that the party is going to be picking the winners and losers. That's yay and nay.
Welcome to the conversation.
Exactly. That's part of campaigning. And there's a lot of time where guys that have the most money lose. And I mean, in our reality, I told somebody this earlier today about fundraising. I mean, they can have the best staff in the world go out and raise money for them, but the candidate has to close the deal. And whenever you're running at a certain level of campaigning, they don't want to talk to a minion to get them money. They want to talk to the candidate to get them money. The minion, or the staff, or whoever is doing the ice breaking, is the one that needs to open the door for that and create a wonderful climate for the candidate to just walk in and do their job. But at the end of the day, the candidate has to do the asking.
You remember we've had a couple of candidate clients over the years that splash the pot. That they'll throw like $100,000 or something like that in the camp. They'll do their announcement and they'll splash it with like $100,000 or something like that, and then
300.
200. Yeah, we've seen some pretty big ones.
Yeah, we had one.
And they go on and they don't win, and they can't fundraise because people look at them and say, "Well, crap, man, they don't need any money. They got what do they need my money for? They got all this."
I mean, I usually tell most candidates, if they got the money, put 10 or 15,000 in, yeah,
easily.
But if you put 300,000 in, or as we had one client put 400,000 in, it just looks like you're A, trying to buy the election, and B, you don't need the money to fundraise, and so you're not going to raise any money.
Exactly.
And C, if you actually put that much in, you probably don't know how to ask for money either. And so the whole concept of you getting other people's money is not going to work.
Yeah, we've had a number of them that wouldn't ask for people and justify it by saying, I don't want people to think I'm being bought. Well, they're going to think that regardless.
The ship has sailed once you signed up to run.
Exactly. The day you signed up, that's what people are going to say. Now, how many people believe that? Probably not very many. I mean, other than just the generic kind of, grouching about whatever. But genuinely believe it. If you make them like you, they won't believe it.
Exactly.
It's just that simple.
It's your job as a candidate, to encourage them to want to be behind you and support you no matter what. That's what that's a Supreme Court case is going to be talking about here with the campaign finances. I mean, people always tell me there's too much corruption and money in politics. I'm like, no, money is a mother's milk of politics. I mean, without money, nothing works. I mean, every single thing costs. Unfortunately, the vendors out there, and we're part of them, I mean, it costs money to do anything in campaigns. You can't do a campaign for free. If you can, well, you can. You're just not going to win.
I mean, at the end of the day, people got to understand what the purpose of the campaign is. The purpose of the campaign is more about introducing yourself to people and making them believe that you're someone who will look out for their interests.
Exactly.
And there's only a certain amount of pointing at that guy and saying he's the bad guy that it's going to get you. I mean, it is a tried and true technique, and it will get you a little bit.
Well,
but it won't get you all the way across
no, it
the
will
finish
not.
line.
No. And so we'll see how the Supreme Court rules in this. I have a feeling that they're probably going to rule favorably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
with this Supreme Court here, they're probably going to relax the rules a lot more, and we'll see that, and it'll be interesting.
Well, like I say, the this Supreme Court seems to be very inclined to deregulate things right and left, which is good for America.
It's also interesting on who the senator was who brought this case to the Supreme Court originally was a guy named J.D. Vance, who's now our vice president back in 2022. And so, yeah, I mean, the future president of the United States, most likely, as the one who actually brought the case to the Supreme Court back in 2022. And so, yeah, I think it has a little bit of legs, and I think it's going to go somewhere, and I hope it does.
Yeah, well, two things lead me to believe J.D. Vance is a very good candidate for president.
But
One,
yeah,
I mean, just his general demeanor. He acts presidential and he talks
right.
presidential. And the other thing is the fact that the left despises him.
Actually, on top of that, he acts presidential. He looks presidential, but he also acts like one of us. He acts like a regular person to where he's not too haughty-taughty for the job. He doesn't seem too elitist for the job. He doesn't seem like he's out there just trying to make a buck for it. He
No,
actually seems like he cares about the people first.
unlike virtually every president in history, he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was
No,
born
no,
poor as a church mouth with a drug addicted mom and an absent
no, Dad.
father and just checking off boxes that ought to made him a Democrat, but
Yeah,
instead it made him a success.
exactly. And, in his full disclosure, he was a Trump hater before, he was a Trump lover. I mean, yeah, he was, I guess a lot of people are saying that he was originally a liberal, but, he's a liberal that woke up very quickly, if he
Well,
was a liberal.
they say a lot of things.
Yeah, they do say a lot of things. That's what the fake media likes to do. And I think you and I were talking about, we're going to start a segment here on the fake media, or was it the media lie tally? We're going to start adding up all the different lies that the media is going to talk
Yeah,
about.
we got to work on that website. I mean, we'll make it like participatory, like crowdsource, where people can just come
Exactly.
in and put it. But yeah, did you see, by the way, Elon's Grokpedia?
No, I haven't. No,
He is making a Wikipedia competitor
really.
out of Grok, and he says that does it make mistakes? Sure, it makes mistakes, but so does Wikipedia. Wikipedia makes mistakes all over the place. The
Right,
difference is it's not he's not so much increasing the accuracy as he is eliminating the bias.
right. I'm definitely a Grok fan. I mean, for those who don't know what Grok is yet, Grok is a search engine similar to OpenAI or ChatGPT, but it's on the X platform. But actually, you can get Grok separate. You can get your own Grok app. And so it's really cool. It actually has ways of creating databases and creating research, and the imagery that creates is still a little bit fluffy, but it's enhancing rapidly and it's growing rapidly. And OpenAI is also ChatGPT is going very, very rapid on the AI stuff. Now, Google is nowhere near close to either one of those yet for the AI or anything like that. And Facebook's AI is getting there.
Facebook's AI is good at programming. It's
Yeah,
good at evaluating code and writing code and stuff like that. And these various AIs have their own little strengths and weaknesses, and
yeah.
that's just the nature of things. So if you think that you have the one utility AI that's good for absolutely everything, it's because you're only a casual user.
I have a question though. There's a few people running for governor here in Florida who are against AI centers or AI data centers being in the state because of other use of energy.
Well, I will say that they are that they will. I mean, there's no two ways about it. They absolutely are energy hogs.
Okay.
Just a huge chunk of energy.
But does that offset the benefits that they create?
I don't think so. I mean, but it does create a problem. It creates a management issue when you think about it, because
Yeah.
they do have to. It we're believe it or not. I mean, I know AI is starting to feel like it's been everywhere and it's been everywhere for forever, but we're
Decades.
really in its infancy. I mean,
Yeah.
completely in the infancy of it.
Less than 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And so now we got it, and we're doing some interesting things with it. But the real problem is it got hyped real early, and now people are trying to use it, and then they realize all of its weaknesses. Honestly, I think that the conversations about AI taking over, taking over the world or destroying the world are more something that the tech sector wants you to believe, so that you realize that the awesome power of their creation.
Right.
But
Ego boosting.
yeah, when you find yourself screaming at this AI because it keeps giving you the wrong answer, and otherwise reasonable people, that should know. I mean, I have yelled at these computers myself, and I'm like, why am I yelling at this stupid computer? It doesn't know.
Well, I
It
think
just doesn't know.
to me, my personal opinion, the two worst AIs in the world are that belong to FPL, Florida Power and Light,
Yeah,
and Verizon.
yeah.
Those two AI systems do not want you to talk ever to a human being. In
Nope.
fact, they will tell you a human does not exist at their call center, and a human. And when I finally reach the operator, I tell them about this. They're like, "It says what?" I'm like, yeah, it actually says that you cannot help with any issue whatsoever. That you are basically not needed, and they hang up. I mean, and it'd be technical, whether it be billing, whether it just be a malfunction with a device or something. It wants to solve all your problems and create all your solutions through an app.
Yeah.
And
Boy, let me tell you, if you thought that offshoring call centers was infuriating and having to talk to people who could barely speak English was infuriating, you're
it's
going to dream of the day when you could talk to
exactly,
someone in Bangladesh about your technical problem.
yeah, I cannot wait to talk to anybody with broken English about any kind of issue that I need, because the AI just hangs up on you and you keep calling and calling. We had an outage here where I live in Palm Coast because we have a lot of construction going on. And I had to call 5 times and report it being out. And it finally said, "Oh, there's a problem in your neighborhood."
Really?
I'm like, "Yeah, really? Yeah, me and 6 other neighbors are wondering what the hell happened because we're all on fiber here, and and we have a big outage." And I was like, "Did you pay the bill? Did they pay the? Everybody paid the bill." And it doesn't. In the bill, I mean, it doesn't shut off at 1 o'clock in the morning for billing issues. I mean, and the lights go off, and there's
No, that's
construction
an
going
idiot on the
on.
side of the road with a shovel.
Exactly, and that's what it was. Some idiot cut a fiber line again, which is very expensive, by the way, to
Oh my God,
fix.
20 grand. I've seen it
And
done.
and they've now cut it 3 times in the last month because they're digging up all type of roadways around our area for the wonderful infrastructure of Palm Coast, Florida, and all of our wonderful growth, because we went from 30,000 to 90,000 people in 3 years or 5 years. It all comes with consequences. And so I guess they're building a huge data center here. So that's one reason why I was asking about that, because we had a big controversy tonight at a local government meeting about the huge data center they're building. That's going to be a fiber center that goes all the way to Europe. And it goes from France all the way to, well, I guess it's ending in Palm Coast where I live at. So we're going to be the hub here. And so they're talking about all the energy it's going to be using and all the power and water and everything. I'm trying to figure out what the downside is. That going to mean more energy costs increasing for the local community, or are they going to absorb that, or what's the? I'm ignorant here on the this issue.
I don't know. I will say that if the community, if they don't if they let Florida Power and Light be the power source for that thing, they'll just use it
Yeah,
as an excuse to raise their rates. I mean, God, the safest thing will be for that place to have its own independent power source, and that
I
actually is
hope
becoming a
so.
thing.
Yeah, because I think the only other power company around here is Duke. Duke is very similar, is very close in proximity to where we're at, but Florida Power and Light is pretty much a monopoly around
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, it's supposed to be like $100 million project here in Palm Coast, and it's going to be bringing all this wonderful energy and everything here. And technology here, I guess, I'm assuming. I don't know. It's one of Governor DeSantis' projects that I think his wife is taking credit for.
Yeah.
And so when her governor race is coming up, although there's more rumors about Jay Collins, the lieutenant governor, running. So it'll be interesting if Casey and Jay run against each other. I really don't see that happening.
I would be very surprised.
I'd be very surprised at this moment if Jay were to run because he doesn't have state ID name. And the reality here, for those who don't know about Florida politics, absentee ballots go out in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, Casey doesn't really have the name idea she thinks she's got.
Just the last name.
Just the last name.
Exactly.
The problem is she needs Republican support for that, and Republicans hate cheaters.
We're not calling her a cheater. We're not calling anybody cheaters.
I am calling the campaign a cheat because she's trying to leverage her husband's. It's just like when Matt Gaetz puts out his campaign signs and all he puts on there is Gates. Because he knows that people, neither one of them do, but they both just put Gates up there so they can leverage each other's popularity. People don't know who the hell they're voting for.
It's kind of like an old radio commercial back in the 60s when the candies were all running. It said, vote for the candy of your choice, but just vote. Out there in Massachusetts when Ted Kennedy was running and John F. Kennedy was running and some other candidate was running for state senate or another candidate was running for city council, just vote for a candidate. It doesn't matter.
Old Kennedy. It'll be fine.
It's like, just vote for a Bush.
Yeah.
J.P. Bush, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. Just vote Bush.
Yeah. One's just good as the
all
other.
These wonderful dynasties have all worked out wonderful for this country.
Yeah. I will say this. I will agree with one thing, and that one is just as good as the other.
The jury's still out on that one.
No, they all suck.
Yeah, well, that being said, what do you think about you being right again on the Federal Reserve? You said they're going to raise interest rates 3 times because they said they're going to raise interest rates 3 times, and nobody really thought they're going to. In fact, all the naysayers were saying they're never going to raise them again because they had went back on that. But I guess today, December 10th, they raised it another 1/4 point.
Yes, they did. They raised it again, and it will have predictable results again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're saying inflation is still high. It is. And people keep blaming it on Trump's economy, which doesn't exist yet. I do like the concept here that Trump has not been in office even a year yet, and we're still under the Biden economy and the Biden budget, and they're still blaming everything on they're trying to blame everything on Trump, which I understand the Democrats doing that. But Republicans who are being naysayers are like, oh, well, we're worried about the midterms here and the Trump economy has not kicked in yet. The budget that the Trump big, beautiful bill hasn't even gone into effect yet to kick in yet. So wake up to the fact that once all the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and all this stuff kicks in here in January and February, it's going to be a big difference to a lot of people, I think.
I agree. I think it's going to be that's going to be a big, big deal.
And if nobody remembers, which I'm assuming they don't, back in 2016 when he got elected, most of the economy really did not get fixed until 2018. That's when all the regulation reduction kicked in, and that's when all the jobs started kicking in. And however, the Democrats and the Chinese had this wonderful COVID thing just to derail it all. So the wonderful economic surge did not last very long because COVID derailed the entire damn thing with the epidemic terrorists of China sending COVID over here, in my opinion. But, hey, that's just my personal opinion of the Chinese flu. If you see America getting strong, let's do something to weaken it. Let's give an epidemic, a worldwide epidemic where they don't value life anyway, so who gives a damn?
No, but, the thing I really have trouble wrapping my head around is how people, the gymnastics, how vested people are in some of these narratives to where they will take people that they might as well be wearing masks, the little black eye masks and stuff like that. From the days of old, as robbers, and yet they still give them credibility. Like, why on earth would a soul trust what comes out of the mouth of a pharmaceutical company's president? I mean, some of the things he says will be true, but a lot of the things he's going to be saying are just, self-interest and a way to sell their product in a way
Right.
that is not good for people.
Yeah, and if people don't really do any math and realize that the Trump economy did not kick into gear in 2017, all the small business ownership and the minority business ownership and the real estate boom and everything happened in the end of 2017 and beginning of 2018. And I mean, and it was after his economy and his budgets were already going into effect. It was not from, and people don't, I mean, there's no ecological calendar here to rationalize why these people are being so stupid or think everything's just going to happen so quick. It hasn't been in office a year yet.
Chris or Greg, Greg, I don't think you understand. You're working under the presumption that these people believe the words that are coming out of their own mouths.
I know.
They
It's
d- they don't.
fundraising terminology.
Yeah, they don't care whether or not whether or not Trump's economy works. They hope that it's not. Whether it works or not, they're going to say that it's not, because their objective is not protecting you and me. It's protecting the
The
deep state.
coffers. Yeah.
Whomever. Trump could eliminate 90%. If 9 million people a year died of cancer and Trump cut it down to 1 million people a year, the narrative would have become 1 million people a year are dying under President Trump.
Right. It's kind of like the judge in California who said that he had to take all the National Guard people out of California, return them back to the governor of California. My question to this is, I get it. The governors are in charge of their own National Guard. That's fine. But what stops him from having, other governors from sending their National Guard to California?
Nothing stops it, and they have stopped him, and they're the ones that they can't get rid of. They can compel him to give the California National Guard back, but they can't compel him to give Gavin Newsom the control of the Texas National Guard,
or the Florida National Guard, or the Indiana National Guard, or so on and so forth. I mean, the whole concept here that the judge is saying that Trump is dictating all these he's not dictating any National Guard people. He's encouraging Republican governors and Democrat governors who have a brain to use their National Guard to help lower crime in very dangerous cities. Now,
the problem.
Not all governors are doing it. I mean, he would like them to do it, but if they're not doing it, it's their choice. He's not forcing any governor, you do it or else. It's not like some sort of national federal mandate that's happening. At the end of the day, all the National Guard troops are all controlled by the governors. We all know that. There's no constitutional crisis happening.
No, the problem isn't that the things that they're saying aren't true. The problem is that the things that they're saying, that they know the things that they're saying aren't true, and they don't care.
No, they don't.
That's the problem.
No, and they're so willing to have high crime, high drugs, high human trafficking, high robberies, high violence, and they don't seem to give a damn because it just rings their fundraising charts.
Don't you love the way that these people are defending narco-terrorists? They're defending actual
human trafficking.
They're defending actual human traffickers, people with documentary evidence of human trafficking, and they discount that and say, "Oh no, that's just a tattoo because of his neighborhood and stuff like that." And people in those neighborhoods commonly have that tattoo. Yeah, they're right about that. They commonly have it because they're gang members.
It reminds me of this radio talk show person who's really big back in the late 90s or early 2000s called Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura used to ring the bell and she's like a canary in the coal mine, basically, talking about all the liberalism in education, all the liberalism protecting the pedophiles and liberalism protecting, all this children's sex books and everything in libraries and public schools. And everybody thought she was anti-woke before there was a woke. And everybody thought she was just like this alarmist and she was crazy and everything. Now, 25 years later, we're seeing and we're fleshing out who exactly is defending all these people. And we see that they're actually defending the rights, of all these pedophiles, all these human traffickers, all these drug dealers, all these violent criminals against children, and how they'll go out of their way. It's not just the ACLU saying, "Oh, they have civil liberties." It's like this is the ACLU taken to the 10th or 12th degree here of a psychotic nature of defending these horrible, horrible people from other countries with no documentation, and not thinking twice about protecting anybody here.
I'm talking about like these boats. All right, they're open hull boats. You can see the drugs in them. They had people on the land who saw the boats be loaded, who know what's in the boats, but they didn't have to do that because they've known what's in those boats for years, and they behave in a certain way. They get out there and they start in these open hull boats going just full speed across the Gulf of America. That's not a boat that you put in the Gulf like that. It's a very dangerous thing to do. People don't go fishing like that. If they were fishing, they wouldn't have the boat loaded up with boxes of other crap.
Right.
And to listen to these people defend these poor innocent fishermen that are just trying to sustain their families. Well, you know what? There are a lot of criminals who are breaking laws trying to sustain their families. That doesn't mean that they get to do it.
Actually, I saw a TikTok video, and actually this made a lot of sense. And this person was drawing the analogy about how we're ripping the children away from the families and the parents and everything else whenever we're deporting them or we're jailing them for being here illegally. And I guess to go to the next question is that anybody who gets arrested, anybody who's in jail, I'm sure their children don't like them being in jail. I'm sure their spouses don't like them being in jail. I'm sure American citizen children and other people who are here, their children and their spouses, none of them like their partners or family members being in jail. I think it's a universal thing. It's not just the children who are being deported. It's a universal thing. Nobody wants their family members imprisoned or arrested unless, of course, they deserve it. Even then, they feel sorry for them. I mean,
this just in, jail is supposed to suck.
Yeah, it does. A little surprise for people who don't realize that. Most people who are in jail, of course, they're all innocent.
Yeah, they're all innocent, and none of them want to be there.
Yes,
Shocking.
none of them want to. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to have the soap on a rope. Nobody wants to be in jail. Nobody wants to go sleep on a cold floor. But that's part of being in jail, and that's part of being in prison. And the unhappiness of it is a factor that happens with every single person, not just ones being deported. And so, I mean, cry me a river, guys. Just cry me a very big river.
You know, my favorite analogy has always been, especially when they talk about all these kids the dreamers whose parents just brought them here. They didn't break the law. Their parents brought them here. Well, let me tell you something. If my parents came out and robbed a bank and successfully robbed millions of dollars from a bank, and we spent decades living on that money, and I kind of got used to living like that, and then the cops come and arrest my parents for robbing the bank, does that mean that I get to keep the money because I'm used to having it? No, I got to give the money back. Well, these kids, their parents robbed the United States. They robbed all the taxpayers, and the kids got to pay now. I'm not saying the kids got to go to jail, but they got to go back to where they belong to in order to become citizens. My version of a dreamer is the parents are excluded from applying for citizenship for 10 years, and the kids can apply immediately from another country.
Yeah. I mean, there's processes and ways of doing it
right.
That's
the dream.
Exactly. I mean, obviously we see in lots of different countries here of all the lacks of freedom and how everybody wants to be free. Yeah. Everybody, obviously, if they love the other country so much, they would have immigration problems. The reason why no other country has immigration problems is nobody else is breaking in to get into those countries. Nobody is running on rafts and risking their lives to go to those countries.
No, that is actually specifically what is eroding. You remember just a few minutes ago, we were talking about Europe eroding itself. Them bringing in all of these Muslim immigrants are the exact same thing.
Exactly.
They're bringing people, and it's not the fact that they're Muslim. It's not the dang people from Latin America. Most of them are Catholics. Catholic is a very compatible religion here in America. The problem isn't the religion. The problem is the third world culture. It's like, what happens when poor people win the lottery? Well, most of them within 5 years lose 80% of that money, if not more. And within 10 years, it's almost all gone. I think because they don't know how to handle it.
I agree to piggyback on what you're saying. I think the majority of the problem with Europe is that they don't know how to assimilate, or they don't want to assimilate. And I mean, they don't want to be part of the European culture. They want to bring their Muslim culture to Europe and create Sharia law and other tribunal things and other basically attacks on the European
Well,
culture in the same way they're doing in America.
Well, and this is a problem with that narrative. All right, and I'm not. You're not intrinsically wrong, but the thing is, you're kind of parroting a narrative that's out there a lot, and that's that that they want to bring their culture here. It's not that they want to bring their culture here. They do want to leave a lot of it behind, but there's a lot of it that they believe in.
Right.
And that's what, so they don't want to make us like them. It's just they believe that that's how you do things. The problem is it's counter to the way we do things. And so they're still wrong. And they still, I mean, they should be allowed to practice practice whatever they want inside the four walls of their home or inside their own little, if they have a group that wants to meet somewhere and behave a certain way, fine. But
Right.
don't start imposing those things on other people, because frankly, Christians don't impose Christendom on you. It's just that they are Christians, so it's kind of hard for them to walk away from it.
Right. And not to pick on the Muslim religion or people that are Muslim, but it is a different kind of religion that does have a little bit more violence in it. That's just reality with it. I mean, read the Quran, see what you think.
Well, it's interesting. The Quran says that it endorses the Old and the New Testament. They just say that they're kind of the new version of the thing, and everything that we say is correct because everything that nothing has changed in Islam from the beginning to now, and that's absolutely not true.
Right. A lot of things have changed.
Most of the things, when Islam was founded, Christendom had been around for 600 years. So, anyway.
Yeah. So, well, looks like anything else we got to talk about today?
No, I think we need to call it, man. It has been a day.
It's been a day in this wonderful USA.
Indeed.
But you guys go ahead and please subscribe and follow us on any of your platforms that you choose, because we're going to be on it. And y'all have a good evening.